Now joined by the insiders, Chris Johnston and Pierre LeBrun. Chris, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a game-time decision. What's your sense of what he may be dealing with?
Well, it's something that's definitely going to impact how he can handle the puck and do a lot of the things you expect of one of your top six forwards. The Oilers naturally are not saying much here, but he took a slash in that last game in Game 2 in Edmonton. It's believed to be some sort of injury in the hand area that he's managing, and you could see that at the morning skate. I mean, he wasn't shooting the puck with his normal vigor, I would say. Doing some things on the ice to basically test that out. And when we talk about will he or won't he play, I think a lot of it does come down to that comfort level for him. Is can he feel that he can be effective out there in that role, and can he handle the puck and feel well enough to do so? But I'll say this, it's a Stanley Cup final, and it takes a lot to get an athlete out of the lineup. So I think it's trending in a positive direction.
Nugent-Hopkins not available to the media after the skate, no surprise there. I did run into him. I was leaving the Oilers dressing room. I kind of ran right into him, yeah. And he was surrounded by staff trying to figure out where he was going to go, because obviously he wasn't going to go into the dressing room where all the media was. We eventually did hear from Chris Knobloch, Pierre, and he was pretty open about what the absence of Nugent-Hopkins would do to his lineup.
Yeah, and what I wanted to know and what I asked him is, are you as comfortable loading up Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the third period like he has in Game 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup Final if you don't have the versatility and the security blanket of Nugent-Hopkins centering the second line? And I think his answer was pretty revealing. The answer is no, he's not as comfortable doing it. It doesn't mean he won't, but without Nugent-Hopkins down the middle, he talked about the fact that actually they're not that deep at center when they load up Draisaitl and McDavid and don't have Nugent-Hopkins. It basically means Adam Henrique moves up to a number 2 center role. They'd rather have him in the 3 spot. So very interesting, because we've seen in-game what a dramatic impact it has when McDavid and Draisaitl are loaded up. But I'm not convinced that if Nugent-Hopkins doesn't play that they're actually going to do that. But here's the thing. I'm with CJ. It's the Stanley Cup Final. I know there's double off days, but Nugent-Hopkins can do all he can to play tonight.
A lot of the talk since Game 2 has surrounded the battle in front of the net. Of course, in Game 1, Sam Bennett goes to the net, accidentally on purpose falls into Stuart Skinner. Oilers challenge. They don't win it. The Panthers get a power play goal out of that. Game 2, Bennett gets a penalty for goalie interference, and the gamesmanship now carrying over off the ice, Pierre.
Yeah, it's become such a big storyline, predictably, in this series. And it was interesting this morning. Now, this is customary, of course, but Chris King is a series supervisor for the National Hockey League, and he went in for his meeting with Chris Knobloch. I couldn't help but sort of see it in the hallway there. We don't know what they talked about, but I think we have an idea of what they talked about. And that is the gamesmanship, because, on the other end, I know that during the playoffs, what we've heard is, of course, Paul Maurice, when he's having his meetings with the series supervisors, is defending the nature of the way the Panthers play. They're aggressive. Not everything's a penalty. So back and forth when you hear from both coaching staffs in these meetings with the series supervisor. But the bottom line is the Oilers for sure are trying to make their point that Sam Bennett has a way of falling in the perfect place on their goaltender, no matter who's pushing him in.
And it was a nice physics reference, actually, from Chris Knobloch, mentioning he didn't necessarily do well in that course, but when you're pushed in a certain direction and you fall in another one, perhaps there's something wrong there. I will say this. My sense in asking a few of the players about this is they're not totally sure themselves, right? And as much as we can make some light of this, I mean, it's a really crucial point. I mean, obviously, if you're a defenseman in that case, you're focused on your box outs. You're trying to protect your goalie. You don't want to take a penalty in that moment. And, similarly when you're, at the other end, because the Oilers are certainly going to try to do the same kind of activity around Sergei Bobrovsky, I get the sense that everyone's trying to feel out where the line is here. And so that's an important part of those conversations. I think, the teams in these situations get direction from the league. What do you want? Are the referees calling it the way you want it? And if so, the players have to adjust.
And let me just add this too, CJ, that the Dallas Stars talked a good game last round. They talked openly about wanting to get greasier goals and making Stuart Skinner's life more uncomfortable. They never did. The Oilers' defense core as a whole boxed out so well in that Western Conference final that Stuart Skinner had a wonderful view of the puck at most times. Here's what's happening here in the first 2 games of the Cup final is Stuart Skinner's life is miserable. I mean, the Panthers, which is what they do. You can ask Carolina, Toronto, and Tampa about this, but the Panthers always find a way to make life difficult for a goaltender and jostle him around. So that's been a big story here.
Yeah, Evan Bouchard told me we have to do a better job boxing out moving forward. A lot of questions going into this game. One thing we know for sure is the Panthers lineup. AJ Greer ready to return from a lower body injury. He's back in. Jesper Bokvist is out.